Welcome to Film Strip. These podcasts are spoiler-filled as we discuss the plots, characters, and themes of the films in review. All content used or discussed in these podcast episodes is the property of the respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504, C2, Title 17.
Welcome to Film Strip. I'm Jay.
I'm Ron.
I'm Lindsay.
I'm Ryan.
And we're here to talk about Men in Black, starring Tommy Lee Jones, Will Smith, Linda Fiorentino, Vincent D'Onofrio, Tony Shalhoub, Siobhan Fallon Hogan, and Rip Torn. Based on the Men in Black comic series by Lowell Cunningham, written by Ed Solomon, and directed by Barry Sonnenfeld, released in 1997, huge box office and critical hit, spawned multiple sequels, allegedly more coming in the future, and cemented Will Smith, at least for a time, as the summer movie star of the 1990s. Now, before we get into the movie, though, gang, we got to blow out some candles because we're here to celebrate this podcast 16th year. Can you believe it? This show can legally drive now.
Ooh.
And we didn't cover License to Drive.
No, because as in Film Strip parlance, never do the thing that's on the nose. So
That's fair.
zig when everyone tells you to zag. So we'll do a little memories later on the memory lane, but just first off, these wonderful co-hosts here for doing this with me. Many of them have been here for a good chunk of that time. And to all of you who are still listening to this show after all this time, gracious. If you go back and listen to some of the early episodes, I don't think I'm even the same person anymore. So I don't sound like that anymore, at least. So, and it's not because of 2 packs a day. So I don't know. But no, it's funny that we've made it this far. But more on that in a little bit. But why are we talking about Men in Black? Let's get everybody's background on this. Ron, what about you?
Oh, I saw it the summer it came out. I was in the Will Smith, completely in the Will Smith bag after the wild success of Independence Day. And, I stayed in that bag until Wild Wild West came out. Then I got out of that bag because it had been peed on.
By a spider.
Yes.
Uh,
But yeah, no, I saw this in theaters. I saw it on VHS tape. I'm sure we had it on VHS. Probably had it on an old school DVD somewhere, if I had to guess. Watched it constantly on cable. So yeah, I was a big fan.
What about you, Liz?
I also saw it when it came out. I've seen this movie no less than several hundred times in my life. I think I don't think it was the summer it came out. I think it was the summer after. My cousins and I literally watched it every day that summer, sometimes twice. And just obsessed. It was either on TV, and if it wasn't, we had a VHS that we recorded the movie on from being on TV, commercials and all that we would watch. So it was this, and I think Dumb and Dumber. Those were the 2 movies that we watched every day that summer. And then I still watch it pretty regularly. I'll bring it up as a movie that we could potentially watch, and Brian will go, we just watched that like last month. So when I told him we were doing it, I was like, we get to watch Men in Black. And you could kind of see he was just like, okay, we'll watch Men in Black. At least it's a good movie.
All right, Ryan, how about you?
Oh my God. So I didn't get to see this in theater, but my family loves Will Smith. Independence Day was a huge hit with my family, so got to, enjoy that, of course, when it, was available. And we desperately wanted to see Men in Black. So the minute that, we got our hands on it, it was a family favorite. It still is to this day. I knew Will Smith from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which was a show that I loved to watch when I came home after school. It's still one of my favorites. I think it's fantastic. And I'm right there with everybody. Like, any chance that I can sit down and watch this movie, or if I see that it's available to watch, I will sit down and watch this because it's just a fan favorite. I remember I remember like McDonald's like advertisements for this
Oh yeah.
film. I
Oh yeah.
remember TV advertisements for this film. Like I think McDonald's also had like the kids like toys and stuff that went with this movie as well. Um, but I it it's a classic in my opinion. I don't think you can go wrong with this film, but we'll get more into that later.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild to think about that this thing's almost 30 years old at this
Please.
point. So I know, but I
Hey, I
saw
didn't
it.
start with my age. I didn't start with my age.
I saw it in theaters too. I was actually out in Texas visiting a friend from college, and the whole family was like, "Let's go to the movies," and I was like, "Movie theaters in Texas, cool." And it was the first like stadium seating, like really legit theater like that I had ever been in. We didn't have those where I grew up, and it was a whole row of us. It was whole family went the whole nine, and it was a blast. And then when I got back home, I like took my whole family. Like, we got to go. You got to go see this. And they weren't so much into Will Smith, but they knew who Tommy Lee Jones was because that's my earliest cinematic memory. The first movie I ever saw was at a drive-in theater, and it was Coal Miner's Daughter in the
Oh
back of my
wow.
parents' station
Wow.
wagon. And Tommy Lee Jones is giving a capital P performance in that movie, if you
Oh
haven't
yeah.
seen it. And apparently is only half the caricature Doolittle Lynn actually was as a person, which is amazing. But I knew him, and of course I knew Fresh Prince, and I'm with Ron. I was big on Independence Day. It was all over that movie. And so I saw this, had the VHS, wore it out. I've seen it. Lynn's probably with you in the hundreds at this point. I can
Mhm.
halfway quote it, I feel like. And but it had been a while. I got to thinking, I was like, it's been at least 5 or 6 years before I went back to any of these because I've seen all the sequels up to a point in a theater, and then I just stopped. And I rented the last one, and I never finished it. So I'm like, yeah, this is one of those like you could see the genesis of where like there could be a franchise, but in the end, it was really best that there was just really only one that like they could do anything with. And I think it's funny though. Anybody had any background with the comic at all? I didn't know anything about it until after the
No.
fact.
No,
No.
not at all. I mean, I watched the animated show that was a
Yeah.
Saturday morning cartoon. But I don't know if it was more, I felt like it was more of an homage to the actual movie than it was the comic.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was 100% a riff on the movie, and I remember it was on Fox, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, because I remember because I would see it all the time.
Yeah. I wasn't, yeah, I didn't read any of the comics or any of that kind of stuff either. I just knew about it after the fact. But I was a big X-Files fan, particularly those early seasons. So
Hmm.
Yeah.
like, the whole, there's always this mysterious group back. There's a man in black and that show. And I've always been fascinated by that idea, and it's fun. And for years I had convinced myself that Steven Spielberg actually directed this. Like he's a producer on it or whatever, but this is legit a Barry Sonnenfeld thing. It's not one
Hmm.
of those poltergeist, controversies or anything. Spielberg was just around, but I thought for a long time he did this because it just feels so Spielbergy in a lot of
Yeah.
ways.
Every so often you run into that director that you are so sure directed that film, and then
Hmm.
you find out he was a producer. There's one in particular that I was thinking about recently, and it was Coraline, the animated
Yeah,
movie, and I thought
Hmm.
Tim Burton was the director of it.
and
No,
you're telling me he's not? Didn't know that.
he was the
No,
producer, I believe, of it, and I think there's a couple of other movies that I went, oh, this
Mm.
screams Tim Burton, but there was a
it's
completely different director.
it's Henry Selick, who is a stop motion animator and
Hmm.
who is a legend in that field.
I
Um,
love that movie. We'll
So
have to do that one if we haven't
yeah,
before,
I,
but
I had only thing I had seen from Barry Sonnenfeld. I didn't watch the Addams Family movies. I had seen Get Shorty though, and I loved that. So I knew
hmm
his name from that. I still love that movie. And then I saw Wild Wild West, and I haven't. Besides Men in Black 2 and 3, I wouldn't have ever seen anything this guy did again after Wild Wild West. Right? You might have saved that one day, Ron. I'd love to hear your takes on that. But I loved Get Shorty. I thought this guy had a neat style. And what I'm finding fascinating about it is through the years, just watching the behind the scenes stuff and things, is him talking about how, I'm glad everybody loves this movie and everybody that made it really wanted it to be good. Tommy Lee Jones was in from the get go and was a big part of the script rewrites. And Will Smith brought his own flavor. And of course, Steven Spielberg had his say, and everybody kind of brought a thing. He said, but the movie you see was not there when we shot it. He said, we shot that and then got in the editing room and started going, okay, how do we assemble this? And it was a mess. And they figured it out. They cut out a subplot, did one new voiceover, didn't have to do any reshoots, and then produced this mega hit off of it. And I just always find that funny when you think you don't think about that important part of that process. There's so many films that have, quote, been saved in the editing room. Star Wars, probably one of the more famous ones, that the original Star Wars was not there. And then Marsha saved that thing in the editing process, along with Ben Burtt and a couple other people, Gary Kurtz, others. But this movie wasn't there. Like they shot it. They felt like they had stuff, and then Sonnenfeld and Spielberg and the editors got in the room and started snipping and cutting and rearranging stuff. And what came out was this huge thing. And I don't know, it's just funny to think about, because, Lindsay, you and Ryan in particular have done a lot of theater and stuff, and that you don't get to do that in theater, right? But during the rehearsal and build process, you cut and move things around. So it's kind of like live edit.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's done is done and can't be undone.
Yeah, for sure.
That's
Really.
so wild to think, with the advertisements and how like wow everything was when this movie was like about to come out, that it really they didn't know what they had, and then they pulled a Captain America Avengers Assemble and they made it work.
Yeah.
And
It kind of,
yeah.
I was just gonna say, she's an English professor. I don't know if she still is at Purdue, but she does like different writing classes and stuff that you can take and watch. And one of the things that she says a lot is write drunk, edit sober. And I
Good
feel
point.
like
That sounds about right. That
Yeah.
sounds
Yeah.
like that's a little bit of
Drop your inhibitions and
coming
then
from
bring
her,
them
yeah.
back when you need to shape it. No, that makes
Yeah.
sense. I,
Yep.
I
Yeah.
I can buy that. Well, like all the music I grew up on and stuff in the 80s, like those bands were so locked out of their skulls. It's amazing any of it happened, but it's the credit to the producers and the engineers. Like the fact that Appetite for Destruction exists as a record, considering how messed up Guns N' Roses all were by the time they stumbled into a studio to record it, is a feat of recording engineering. Like it really is. Like that they got that out of those guys. It's pretty wild. Like, usually the band has their best album when they all sober up for 5 minutes, and then they do well. But nope, not that band. They were a complete train wreck, and it sounds like it, but it's a good train wreck in some ways. But nobody was really out of their minds from what I understand on this set. It was just more of a they kept changing what they wanted it to be and what they could do, because they could go 100 places, and finding the story in the middle of this was I think the fun
Yeah.
part. And I don't know, I found that to be just fascinating and neat. But I guess before we get any further into it, I'm gonna fire up the old Aronco Electric plot summarizer and tell us what Men in Black is about.
Actually, we are not going to be doing the Ronco Electric plot summarizer because I have a pretty good plot that was provided by ChatGPT, or Agent JPT, if you will.
We summoned it.
Yes, but
Agent R2 summoned it.
that's me. Yes, R2D's nuts. I don't. That I went to that joke is really sad. But okay. Uh, yeah. So here we go. Here is the plot summary. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air gets recruited by the grumpy sheriff from No Country for Old Men to chase down actual interstellar aliens as part of a super secret government agency. And their boss is Patches O'Houlihan, sans chair and wrenches. Or it's the dad from Freddy Got Fingered, sans respect. They get on the trail of an intergalactic cockroach that moonlights as Detective Gorb's redneck farmer cousin. That's good. While terrorizing the five boroughs looking for a quick way to phone home, which will trigger Star Wars and wipe out the Earth because a cat has a cool shiny on his collar. That's why none of my cats wear collars. They inadvertently bring a super horny medical examiner along when she uncovers all those late nights reading Mysteries of the Unknown work completely wasted. The MIB finally corner the bug at Flushing Meadows in Queens and blow it to bits with the help of the Med-X. Grumpy Sheriff reveals he wasn't just bringing on a new sidekick, but a replacement. Fresh Prince and Sharon Stone the Coroner edition team up to do the lore secret agent work as credits roll, and we all learn that our nihilistic instincts were correct because Earth is just another marble on some kid alien's playground. That song was inescapable that summer. That
Uh,
song was everywhere, and it drove
Yes.
me nuts.
yep.
After the first 2 weeks, I was like, if I never hear Just Bounce With Me any other time, I will be thrilled.
I
That
still love that song.
video,
I do too. It lives rent free in my head.
yes, all day. It's just this became a thing for the Will Smith movies. Is that he got a song because he didn't get one for
Yeah.
Independence Day. Like that was the trade-off. Like you get the movie, but you don't get to do the song. So and after that, he's like, no, 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 no. I got something for you. Me and Jazzy Jeff. So,
I might be the
And
only
Jazzy
person on
Jeff.
the I might be the only person on the podcast who owned an Independence Day t-shirt, but I owned an Independence Day
oh,
t-shirt.
no, I didn't have that, but I did have the hologram that like came on the front of the VHS, and I used to
Ah, nice.
hang that on
Yeah.
my desk and stuff. So because it was like the White House, being just completely decimated or something like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
or Capitol
That was
Records,
cool.
whatever,
Yeah.
one of those.
hmm
But yeah,
Yeah,
Hmm.
the Capitol Records building because they owned it.
yeah. So which just only took 10 more years and streaming did that. But so the thing about this movie that always strikes me and I always forget is that if you cut out the opening credits, which are about 2.5 minutes, and the end credits, which are 7 minutes, five of which are that Will Smith song, this movie is 88 minutes long, and they pack a shit ton into 88
It
minutes. And I
is
was like,
a tight movie.
God, why can't we make movies like this anymore? Because it's everything you need to know about everyone, but
Hmm.
it's 88
Uh,
minutes long. So it's just so quaint, you know?
It is. And I do like that opening with following that, bug thing.
The
I don't know what it
Dragonfly.
was. Yeah,
Yeah.
like a
Hmm.
dragonfly. It felt like it was kind of an aliened up dragonfly, but it was, you know, yeah, I while we were sitting there watching this, I did think to myself, like, wow, this is a long opening credit. This is like James Bondy, you know?
Yeah. It reminded me of like Beetlejuice or
Yeah.
some other
yeah.
early Tim Burton kind of stuff. Like
Well,
it
I don't think I
felt
realized how short the movie was either because I paused it halfway through and realized that we were already halfway through and it just
Mhm.
does not feel like it.
Yeah. I'd
It's
forgotten that until I fired it up and it said 137 on the counter. And I thought, really? And then I was like, okay, I'm going to keep up with this. And so I kept up with the times. And I was like, this is 88 minutes a movie. Holy cow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
like Lindsay said, it was a tight film, but
Uh,
Mhm.
it
Yeah,
wasn't, it didn't go too fast. It didn't go too slow. It was pretty well balanced.
mhm.
I had a very similar experience. I paused what I thought was halfway through, and the movie was in its final act. Like it was, you had literally 25 minutes left to
Yeah.
go, and when I paused, and I was like, oh, I thought this was only halfway through. Wow, this is flying.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, literally it flies. So like this movie
Yeah.
does because they throw you right in too. And I think that opening style though, that kind of, like I said, I called it Tim Burton-esque, but you don't
hmm
know what you're watching. Like, is that a real dragonfly? Is it an alien? Or is it, if you just look
Hmm.
really closely at a dragonfly, it is kind of alien. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It's just the whole thing is that, and the theme of this movie, and it just really hit me this time, is that size matters not. Like that is not indicative of importance or non-importance of
hmm
anything because they're just going to hammer that home over and over again. And again, that wasn't something that, according to Sonnenfeld, a company that they didn't know that was the theme of the movie till they started picking up on it in the shooting of it, and then in the editing, they're like, we just need to keep reminding people that size is the like MacGuffin or the misdirection in this the
hmm
whole time. And I don't know. I thought it's smart to see something like that now because nowadays I feel like they call that out, and because it's a different world and we operate differently. But in watching this movie, you're just mesmerized from the opening bit, and then you get into this almost like Saturday Night Live skit on a side of a New Mexico road, going on with the illegal aliens and stuff.
It does definitely like it goes so chill and then it goes hard. And then as you pointed out that like there are some SNL skits that like they shove in there. And yes, the what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm just trying to do what I want to do. It's like,
Mhm.
okay, but you're not supposed to. And one thing that you pointed out is like size does not like matter in the grand scheme of things. And one thing that I noticed about this film, it kind of gives it's kind of like the definition of an existential crisis, and
Mm.
not in a bad way, but it's like you like when you're starting off with the bug at the very beginning, it's like you realize that life is short, and that's kind of something that is constantly being put in this film, but it's not done in a way where it's like it's shoving it in your face, because
Mm.
that's something I never noticed as a kid, but as I've gotten older and I watch things like Rick and Morty and I watched some other stuff, I went back and watched this and I went, oh, yeah. We are just a tiny little marble in the grand scheme of the universe.
I've never heard him cop to it, but I feel like the people that make Rick and Morty love this movie and worship it, like along with
Yeah.
Back to the Future in like a
100%.
specific
Oh,
way, you know?
100%. This
Yeah.
is also like I think you pointed out too, Jay. It's a great homage. In a sense, it's kind of like if you took X-Files a step further. Like
Or or made it
if you
funnier on
yeah,
purpose. Yeah.
if you got both of them to agree that aliens existed and just made a business out of it, that's
Yeah.
exactly what this would be.
Well, I love that. That's why I feel like there is a Tim Burton like influence in this whole
Mhm.
work because, you know, in Beetlejuice, like death is like a bureaucracy, you know, the
Yeah.
afterlife is, right? And that
Yeah.
I love that, like, this is a government agency and it operates more or less like a government agency would. Like,
Hmm.
they have a uniform, they have a code, and they just kind of come and go. And, you know, but they also operate completely independent. Like, there's that funny bit where Tommy Lee Jones is talking about whatever division he's from, and this border patrol agent's like, "This is bullshit. There's no Division 6," you know, and like it was just an aside, you know. But that's just that little moment is just great comedy in that moment
Hmm.
because we don't know what they're trying to do. You know, you got Tommy Lee Jones, who's from Texas, so he can speak Spanish, so naturally, so he's doing his Spanish, and he comes along. The what we'll find is an alien holding like the fattest head ever, you know,
Yeah, on a stick.
on a stick.
It's
This is also
it's
like the
Jose
pre,
Jalapeno
like
on a stick.
we're
Uh,
pre Phantom Menace, so there's a little CGI in this, but there's a lot of practical effects in this too, and I
yeah.
feel like they call out, and Rick Baker and his team just
Mhm.
go out of their minds in this movie.
That is definitely the that moment where you realize that there's a little bit of a horror element because you
Hmm.
just see this head on a stick and you're like, what? Because for
But
me, I was young, and there's definitely some moments in this film that traumatized me for a little bit,
oh
and I
yeah,
still vividly remember. Surprisingly, this is not one of them, but in a horror sense. But I remember there was a toy that was literally this alien, and one of his things is that he had the head on a stick as
hmm
something that he could hold. It was
M
crazy.
Mikey the alien
Mikey,
frog
yes.
or whatever with all those flippers, like.
Very angry,
Like,
very
well,
angry
they
person.
talked about that when they were making him up, like when they were drawing him out and stuff. That they're like, he's got to look cute enough that in the beginning, like you're sort of like why he would have a conversation with Kay or what Tommy Lee Jones, and they're just speaking to one another. They're not going to explain that how can he hear each other, whatever. We're just going to go with it. Did they do that? But then all of a sudden, he's got to look really fierce when he figures out that that cop's looking at him, and
Do
that's
you
and that. So when you blow him into goo, you don't feel
Yeah.
bad about it.
do you think that that
Yeah.
was an inspiration for, was it Galaxy Quest with those cute little aliens that all of a sudden started eating each other and you're
I
like, oh, you're
I
adorable.
mean,
Never
I
mind.
wouldn't doubt it. Yeah. I mean, this feels like something out of an old Star Trek anyway. So,
It kind of does. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an homage to X-Files and Star Trek.
yeah. But I mean, it's in that opening though, that and that's the thing is that they don't explain anything, but you kind of get what Kay and his partner are all about just by looking at him. First
Mhm.
off, kudos on casting, finding somebody that looked craggier than Tommy Lee Jones. So that man had, you know, rivers in his face. It was amazing
He,
that guy. I don't know who he was, but
he looked like he was ready to sit on a front porch and tell multiple stories to young ones that would, approach him. He was
Yeah.
like, I'm out. I'm done. They're like,
yeah,
we know exactly where we're gonna put you.
yeah. I think of
Yeah.
all the lasting iconography, the neuralizer is the thing I remember the most about this movie,
Hmm.
and just always wishing I had one of those. So
The
useful.
neuralizer, the cricket's what I
I
always
was gonna
remember.
Noisy
say
cricket.
noisy cricket. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the neuralizer's definitely a close second.
I think we had a toy noisy cricket. in our house.
Oh wow.
I don't even think because I think they had other toys that were an option, and and my brother and I both went, no, we'll do the noisy cricket. Nothing's gonna
Yeah.
pack a
But
wallop.
y'all see what I'm saying though, like the shorthand of this movie is what's so brilliant about it is because again, Tommy Lee Jones has two scenes in the beginning. He's maybe got 10 lines, and you know everything you need to know about that guy from that
Hmm.
one interaction.
Mhm.
And I'm just gonna keep calling out like that's brilliant writing and really good interpretive acting to do that. Like I don't know how you do that, but because it seems like something you don't see anymore. But gosh, it's so effective here.
hmm It's a
Yeah.
perfect time to do it too, because you, as somebody who's just coming into this, you have no idea what it is that he held up to him. You have no idea what they're talking about. And
Right.
it's not until you watch later in the film that you start to like put the pieces together. It's a
I
beautiful
even
scene.
I even think back to like we just talked about Little Shop of Horrors, and the first time you see Rick Moranis on the screen, you know everything you need to know about that dude.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
partially because it's Rick Moranis and you just know what he
hmm
does, but it's also the way he kind of carries himself and the first few things he says and everything. It just tells itself. And I don't know,
hmm
I love a movie that shows as much as it tells in an
hmm
introductory of a character.
That's how it should be. Before even, you can say a lot physically or without saying anything with a character. And I think that that's something that sometimes is lost in films these days. But that, like you brought up, that scene is a beautiful scene. Just them sitting there in the desert with the beautiful sky above them, having that really wonderful moment. And then he's like, no, you won't. And then the
Mhm.
neuralizer hits him, and it's kind of emotional, but it's one of those things where I think that I've appreciated this film as I've gotten older because I think that I appreciate those moments so much more. I think a lot of
Mhm.
people probably would.
Also love the fact that there's a whole like cleanup unit that comes behind them to
Yeah.
clean all the goo out of the desert. You know, just
Oh God, can
immediately.
you imagine trying to get the clumps of sand out? Like a litter scoop. Just
I hate sand. It gets everywhere.
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 Yeah. So yeah, but no, I mean I love again that there's this level of bureaucracy to this group and stuff, and it's a hell of an introduction to then jump to meeting Will Smith, who I know NYPD detectives can wear varying amounts of plain clothes. I don't think they can wear that orange jumpsuit. I don't know what the hell that is, but that is a choice, a fashion choice, and I don't know why they decided like we're going to introduce Will Smith literally running for like 5 minutes straight to run this guy down.
And
Uh,
doing like parkour
Yeah.
basically.
yes, yes, yes.
Like if
You
Jumping
the
gotta
off
have
alien's
a
gonna
par.
do it,
bridges.
Will Smith is gonna do it too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you gotta have a parkour moment.
What's interesting is this is a very early parkour moment,
Hmm.
and we see
hmm
the cephalopod that he's chasing runs up the wall and does the backflip. I'm
Hmm.
like, in 10 years, that's going to be in every movie.
Yeah,
But this was the first time I'd ever seen anything like that that wasn't done by Jackie Chan. It was amazing.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It was
and
so great.
I
that's
was
the
like,
cool
you
part
can. I
about it.
was and I was like, well, he's got to be some kind of like super ninja or something
Yeah,
Hmm.
because only Jet Li can do that sort of thing.
they did
Right?
the. You're probably thinking it's the Breaking Two Electric Boogaloo, like dancing on the seal on the wall sort of thing. Like, how did you
Yes,
do that?
it's Michael Chambers in a cameo. Yeah. No, I love that though. I love that he's chasing him down, but again, he's in this like he's got his badge and all this stuff, but he like Will Smith allegedly said a lot of people think I'm riffing through this entire movie, and he said there's only a couple of spots where I really did. He said most of it is on the page. And I was like, well, when they must have known they were casting him because whoever wrote him had his voice down. Like the whole NYPD, knock your punk ass now, which is the dumbest thing ever if you like think about it. But it's also like everybody remembered that right after the
hmm
moment because it's what the Fresh Prince would say. It's what the Colonel Heller from or whatever from Captain Heller from Independence Day would say.
Yeah.
Probably to Harry Connick Jr. So but yeah, but I love his introduction and the idea that he runs this guy down, and of course he jumps off the building, but he's going through this whole bit in the the police station, and you got the fat cops that are giving him a hard time because they don't believe anything he's saying, and you do have the medical examiner come by. I forgot that she pops by for like 2 seconds. Like, I believe you. Talk to me later. I was like, okay, like they're scary and random. And then, but then of course here comes Kay with his flashy, and just rocking everybody out, and we get the two of them together. Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith really had good buddy cop energy that I
Yeah.
didn't expect. But like when I heard they were casting a movie together, I was like, I don't know what though. I kind of tilted my head on it. Then you see it and immediately you're like, oh no, I get it. Like,
They really were, I think, as far as the characters in the movie. It's fun that Tommy Lee Jones very intentionally plucked Will Smith out to be in that room with all of the other, best of the best Green Berets. And
yes, yes,
you could tell because, he's clearly got a chip on his shoulder and he needs someone to work with him that also has that
right,
edge. Especially in New York City, you got to have an edge.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got
The gun scene is my favorite when he's shooting and he's
go.
like going
Oh
through
yeah.
each cardboard cutout and
Mhm.
explaining why he shot them.
Yeah, I didn't shoot that guy. She's working out. Little Tiffany, she's a white girl in Harlem with a physics book.
Yeah, I
And
know.
I
It's like the
And
appreciate
physics book is the
it.
it's
reason.
just like, I mean, you can say, and the other part is like Rip Torn, just this great comedic actor. It's just his whole face. It's just like, are you freaking kidding me? But yeah, like he's just, I mean, I love him in this movie because he's just the perfect amount of pepper. He's like lemon pepper
Hmm.
in the
Yeah.
movie. It's just
Lemon pepper.
just the right amount, and it just
And,
spices the dish.
and his delivery on that line, and why did little Tiffany deserve to die?
Yes,
It's
exactly.
just phenomenal. Like he just
Yes.
knocks it out of the park.
Well, the other thing is too is all the subtle comedy, like when he takes the rest of them back in the room to after they've all been all they can be and all that
Hmm.
stuff, and he's
Uh-huh.
like, "You're everything we've come to expect from our
From
our
government
agencies."
training.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And you
from
just
years
hear
of
the
government
then you
training.
see and then he's like, "Oh, I'm having this conversation." You see the lights, you just see the just the lights go and you're like, "All right, they're done."
Yeah, they're all getting escorted out. Yeah, we got to talk about New York being the setting of this too. Like this is a really fun capsule of New York mid cleanup.
Hmm.
This is
Oh yeah.
this is post Jason taking Manhattan, Toronto, and then like before New York became a clean place to go hang out. And
Jason takes
so it's
Manhattan, Toronto.
getting
Sorry, I
there.
caught that
Yeah.
late.
I mean,
Oh
it
my
is what
God.
it is. So, but
It's a great place to have it. I mean, of course, you probably could have picked another major city, but I think that New York was a good decision for having the movie set here. And especially when you're being introduced to other characters and like how they're kind of like fitting into living in American society especially in New York City, it's you would never guess that that potentially would be an alien. Like Tony Shalhoub's character is a good example. Frank the Pug is
yeah.
another example, and just a
Hmm.
few to like pull up. It blends. You would
Hmm.
never suspect otherwise, and that's what I like about Will Smith's character, especially when you see him deal with an alien for the first time, especially when you just dealt with Tommy Lee Jones dealing with an alien. His reaction is so genuine and and you just see his mind constantly being blown, and then there's Tommy Lee Jones who's just like,
Well,
"All
it's
right,
in
let's go
that.
to the diner."
It's in that Tony Shalhoub scene. They go
Yeah.
there because he's like, you think you can spot the weird gun that the guy dropped? If you saw it again,
Hmm.
and they get in there and they have that great. And again, this is Tony Shalhoub before he was anything, and which is wild to think about. But
Hmm.
he's so good in this. And then when Tommy Lee Jones pulls out that ray gun and blows off one of his heads, and Will Smith's immediate reaction is to go into cop mode, like drop the weapon now. Like he starts yeah, he starts doing all that stuff, and he doesn't realize what happens until Tony Shalhoub grows the head and starts talking again.
Do you
And he
know how
turns
much
around,
that stings?
and that look on his face where he just drops, like, the hell is going on? Has
The-
no idea. And he's just kind of like, he just kind of points for him, and he's just
Well,
totally blown away.
it's
But that's us as the audience, right? At the
Mhm.
first time you really saw an alien, you'd probably lose your mind, like you
Yeah.
can't. And I think Tommy Lee Jones has a great piece in there, and I quote this often. It's like, no, a person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, and weird. And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh God, that is so true. You know,
Yeah.
but it is, and I love the whole back and forth of like cab drivers, right? Not as many as you think, and
Well, that's why New York is the perfect setting for this movie because it's just
yes,
full of so many weird
Yes.
people, lovable weird
Yes.
people, but
yeah,
just like off the wall weirdness all the time, like just
right.
everywhere. It's not weird there.
What do y'all make of the idea though that the aliens are mostly just workaday folk? Like they're not really doing anything except just
Teachers.
working
I
regular
mean, I think
jobs.
I mean, I think that's smart. And I mean, of course I will always remember the no, Elvis is not dead. He just went home line.
Hey,
Mhm.
Promised Land's a
Um
great song, by the way. Underrated Elvis track, I might add, by the
I
way.
I know, and it's fantastic, and you're seeing every other alien just being every Tom, Dick, and Harry in this major city where someone went, okay, that's a weird encounter, but you wouldn't. That's just how it is. I mean, I
Yeah,
lived in New York for 6 years. I'm like, okay, that's a weirdo. Okay,
yeah.
and you don't think anything of it. You're like, okay, he's having a bad day. No, he's just an alien.
And I don't know if it's intentional or not. It's Ron, I'll toss this question to you first. If like the message is that like they make a joke about like please protect us from the harmful illegal aliens when in the opening scene or whatever.
Hmm.
And the idea is like most of what you're afraid of is just because people are different than you. Like they're mostly just working folks. If you just leave them alone, they'd probably leave you alone too. I don't know if they intended that to be the message, but I feel like it's there. And maybe it's just more I'm looking at it with 21st century eyes now and sort of the world we live in now and think, yeah, you can definitely read that in this.
I think that's also kind of the joke because he's like, oh yeah, keeps protecting us from those dangerous illegal aliens when meanwhile he's arresting an actual dangerous alien.
Hmm.
Uh, and they're dealing with as they talk about, kid, there's always some kind of plague or a battleship or a death laser. You just
Right.
that's just that's happens every week here, and that's our job to keep protecting people from the actual dangers. I think it gives him like a, oh, you mean they have four limbs, two lungs, and they breathe oxygen just like us. Well, they're not actually going to cause any problems. They're not actually going to be dangerous. I got, you know, squid men with a vendetta against the bug people, and they're going to bring their war to our planet. And
Right.
you got the kingpin out here bending guys in half the wrong way.
Yeah, that's a good chance to talk about Vincent D'Onofrio here, because what he does in terms of the physical train. I mean, I know a lot of it's Rick Baker's makeup and there's the constant decomposition, but the voice he affects and the way he
Yeah.
Hmm.
stumbles around like a Frankenstein corpse the whole time. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen the man do. And I watched every season of Criminal Intent, so I love this dude.
Yeah.
I've
Hmm.
seen a lot of the movies he's been in, and I dig him as a performer. This has got to be the weirdest shit he ever did. And he was a Kubrick monster for like 10 minutes at once upon a time. So, and I think at this point, that's all anybody would know him for was Full Metal Jacket. Like he hadn't done anything
Oh
big
yeah, I
movie
forgot about
wise
that.
or TV wise. He'd just been bit parts and stuff, been on
Mhm.
stage. So it's so wild to see him because there's really only one scene where he's Vincent D'Onofrio, and it's when the bug gets him. And
Oh, that scene was traumatizing for me. I still remember to this day. It's like the hole comes in, he's like, "Get your big butt back in the house." And he goes out there and the it grabs him. And then the next thing you see is his skin just slap up against the hole and then it's dragged back down like he's putting on a pair of skinny jeans. And
yep,
then the next thing you know, I mean, you're right. He was such a great physical, like his physicality. Just if you ever went, he looks like a guy, like a giant cockroach just shoved in a human suit. It's so
yeah.
good. It's so good.
The thing I caught this time that maybe I hadn't really paid that much attention to is how much he decomposes throughout the movie. 'Cause it's really like two
Hmm.
or three days
Yeah.
that happen here, but like he's all the jerky movements. I was like, is that just because this cockroach doesn't know how to move like a person? I was like, oh no, that's rigor mortis. Like
Yeah,
yeah, she's just sort of like breaking down in front of us, and
the
I don't know.
makeup gets better
I think
too.
it's
Yeah.
both things
Yeah.
too, Jay.
Mhm.
I definitely think there's some element of this stupid skin suit doesn't have enough limbs. How am I supposed to walk like a dignified cockroach man?
Yeah.
It's like if my mother could see me, she'd be so ashamed.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's wild here though too that he this is our antagonist for the movie, right? And
Hmm.
in spite of all this stuff, and again, everything we're talking about is it gets one scene and that's it, and then they explain it in one scene back at the office, and that's it. Which I got a kick of when they're going around the office and like meet the twins, and it's like this goofy name and Bob. It's just they're two like octopi. And one always puts its eye back to say hello and comes back down to running the show. But it's just neat that they throw us into these things like that,
Hmm.
and get us right into the story and what the bug wants and how it goes. Like, this is the thing that they said they really found the most of in the editing, because it's supposed to be the big tall guy and the short guy that has the cat are emissaries from two warring planets,
Hmm.
and they're supposed to be like doing a peace treaty at the restaurant, and the bug kills them, and then what happens is Earth is caught in their crossfire, but they realized that like this was too complicated to like follow, so they just cut one race completely out of it and just said nope, it's just going to be one ship firing at us as a warning, and we'll do that one voiceover. That's all we got to fix, and that's what they fixed, and they cut out that whole subplot. And I'm like, that's a genius move, because you don't
Yeah.
need all that other crap to make it work.
Hmm. You just need one group that's like, return it or we'll blow you up.
Sorry,
It's like,
which is the hilarious part.
I
Yeah.
know, they're like, sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
it's
But
protocol.
back
I
back to
feel, which I
the
feel like is how like Britain threatens people.
Yeah.
Sorry.
sorry, so sorry. I'm going to blow you up. If you give it back to me, I will give it to you. It's going to be fine. But
I feel
Vincent
like I just
D'Onofrio,
zoomed into a Harry Potter movie all of a sudden. So,
maybe. Oh God. But what you were bringing, but that also brings up something like Vincent D'Onofrio is like running around like this, you know, this giant bug man shoved into a human suit, as they say, Edgar, your skin is hanging off of your bones. And no one really notices. They just again in New York City think he's a weird guy.
you think
No
he's a
one
redneck,
back.
you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
So he
This is
might
what
have
everyone
put
thinks rednecks look like in New
I
York
mean
City. So,
I
Hmm.
mean he brought cockroaches into a restaurant, so that restaurant's never gonna get another A again.
let's
But
be honest, that restaurant definitely had
That
cockroaches and
that
probably
touche.
that
rats.
restaurant, that was not
Touche.
anything new. Like no one
Touche.
even blinked at that. Yeah. What?
It's that scene where he comes into the
Those were
to the
local cockroaches that he
restaurant.
just found.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
actually those are some fat cockroaches because I've the
Uh,
cockroaches I've seen are like huge, like
those are
literally.
called Rick Baker cockroaches. That's what
Yeah,
those are.
that's
Okay.
exactly what
They're
it
all on
is.
a wire that you don't see. So
They
Those
have
co
like a little cockroach farm on set that they're just like,
yeah,
all right, just throw them in there.
those cockroaches have a union,
Yep.
yeah, definitely.
Like
But I
we do
mean,
not
like
appreciate that you
you're
are
again
trying to
you're
make
you're
us money.
taking these outside elements and putting them in worlds that aren't there. It's like when they go and interview Beatrice Siobhan Hogan, who's hilarious in her
She's so clever.
disaffected, like just such a it's a very clever performance. You're right, and but I love their Will Smith's whole like try to be a little more human or whatever about it.
Hmm.
Like you just kind of like that's all you're gonna leave her with. Like man, give her something better. And then his whole like damn, with the whole
He dumped you. He left you.
yeah,
Get
exactly.
new curtains. Live your best life.
Yeah, no, I love that, but I love her. She only has those two scenes, right? I kind of
Hmm.
wanted her to be around at the end for something, but I love her whole bit when she's like dumping that sugar in the water. Like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, like she's doing
More.
it. It's good physical comedy though. Like that. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, you can tell you get people that have done stage work and things like that because they know how to like slow the prop down long enough to like let you look at it and notice it, and it becomes part of the bit. Like I appreciated that.
She's clever because one thing that I didn't realize this until I watched it later. When I watched it for the first time as a kid, I was just like, why the hell is she talking about lemonade, ice water, tap water, all this? And then as I grew up, I went, oh my God, she's losing her mind, but she's doing it in such a low tone that you just think, okay, she's another weirdo. But she's actually just losing her damn mind because she just saw her husband like take a clothespin basically to his skin.
Holds the head back. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
and
was
she's
that was right out of Beetlejuice. That was the Alec
yeah,
Baldwin.
Mhm.
Yeah.
suddenly when you realize that this guy was involved in Pushing Daisies and the Addams Family movies, it's starting to make sense.
Right, right.
Yeah.
No, it's a fun mint when we get the bug in, the way he kills the bug guy, and then he has to roll his spaceship and he's trying to get it in the back of that big truck. He's like, no, it won't fit. It's just it's very
Like
Fred Flintstone.
moving
D'Onofrio
in New York
very
City.
clearly, yeah,
Yeah.
he very clearly had fun with
Mhm.
this assignment and he
Yeah.
understood it.
Yeah.
Just
He talks about
constant
how
rage.
it's the one time anybody's ever asked him to be completely goofy in a movie. He said, I always have to play
Really?
these serious people.
Yeah.
And he said, really look at my career. He said, I don't get to do this. He said, so at the time it was wild because I was like, oh, you want me to do what? Okay. And he said at that point, yeah, sure, it was a job. So
It's wild how the two like funniest performances you get in this movie are the dude who cut his teeth with Stanley Kubrick on a set from hell,
yeah.
and somebody who's best known for doing three Lars von Trier movies in Siobhan Fallon Hogan. It's like, wow, that's really kind of unexpected. I mean, she was known for comedies until she got into Dancer in the Dark, which is an amazing movie and it's an amazing performance that she did. The
Agreed.
Bjork,
Yeah.
the Bjork star vehicle, and she's in a bunch of other good stuff too. Um, but man, she really does know how to play this breakdown in a very understated but
Mm.
funny way, and you can tell that she's like losing that grip on whatever tenuous thread she's had over the last couple days. And like these guys showing up, these men in black, these clearly some sort of government agency guys showing up. It's like, okay, now I can't hold on to this thread anymore. It's going to go because they're just going to make fun of me like everybody else has.
Well, it's
Hmm.
always in her voice too. It's the way she says it, like, I know Egger, and that ain't Egger. Like she
Hmm.
just the way she
Yeah.
shortens that off. It's just
Hmm.
I don't know. She's in two scenes and she's great. That's a great call out to run. Like, yeah, you have one of Kubrick and Von Trier's disciples in there, and then they're just tearing it up against the two comic leads who are genuinely funny.
Hmm.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
yeah, they're a whole other thing. So. Um, Speaking of whole other things, let's talk about Linda Fiorentino for a minute and Dr. Laurel Weaver, our Sharon Stone-esque coroner, medical
She
examiner.
really, she really does feel like she comes out of an erotic thriller.
I mean, she's been in one. You ever seen Jade? That's a David Caruso joint.
I have,
Yeah,
unfortunately. Yeah.
that's Chaz Palminteri, I think's in that. I mean, she talks about her career. She said, "Look, I was never going to get the Meg Ryan role. I have a deep voice. I'm dark. I have dark hair. I knew what I was playing my whole career." She said, "So getting to play something fun was fine." And apparently, it
She's
was her idea to have the whole like, because they wrote her to be kind of flirty or whatever. She said, "No, no, no, no. It shouldn't be flirty. It should be outright like." Overly sexualized woman. She said because
she's been
she's
in horny jail since 1990.
Well, yeah, but I mean, she came up with that as the character. Like, no, this woman would be the most repressed person in the world because her job would keep anyone normal from wanting to ever talk to her. So,
Yeah.
so when she sees Will Smith, of course, she's gonna go gaga for him. And I love their whole interplay. I mean, it's funny every time they talk, and even when like she's trying to like tell him something's wrong, Edgar's here or whatever, and she didn't know what she's doing. He doesn't pick up on it, and she goes off on him about it. I loved it. I thought she was hilarious in this, like unintentionally, but a different kind of comedy.
She was great. I like too that when the cat comes in with the body, she's just
Hmm.
like, well, I guess I have a cat now.
Right.
And
I
I was
immediately
like,
thought of Puck, by the way,
I
Lindsay.
know, I did too. I always do.
Yeah.
So that was an oversight on my part, not naming him Orion, but Puck is a good name.
Yeah.
um, she she jumped on it so quick. I feel like that was very telling. Like, okay, well, obviously you live alone. Not saying that like you only have cats if you live alone, but clearly as someone who has a couple. But she was just like, oh yeah, this is just mine now.
Yeah.
Just cracked me up. Like, okay,
Well, I
just
mean,
rolling with it.
I mean, the joke was in the plot summary, but I feel like this is the kind of woman that watches like those Mysteries of the Unknown documentaries and stuff like
Hmm.
that. She probably watches that Peter Graves show, that
Yeah.
they end up making fun of in one of the sequels or whatever. Like she's definitely a subscriber to that, Outer Limits kind of part of the world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah, and it's interesting to think that we never see her in like street clothes or
Mm-mm.
normal people attire.
No,
She is always in her work costume. Like she's always in a doctor's coat. She's
in a
always
suit.
doing
Yeah.
something professional. I get the feeling that she may not exist outside of the professional role, and that's part of why, Will Smith showing up like throws everything into, what do you mean you're a person and you're looking at me like I don't have my hands up dead people all day. Like
Right.
I don't understand what to do with this, but I'm into it, so I'm just gonna lean as hard as I can onto it. And I think that's part of, to me, that comes across as part of the awkwardness. And I feel like it's also a choice on Fiorentino's part to, like, I think that was a great choice to say, all right, no, she's just going to be the most, like, repressed, horny medical examiner you're ever going to meet. Like, she's not going to be Quincy. She's going to be, I don't know. She's not going to be Quincy. She's not going to be Dana Scully. She's going to be, like, Dana Slutty.
It's
Well,
is
I
it
felt like though too, she
true?
also played it like she was a big nerd too.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
she
Yeah,
was
for
she was
sure.
geeky, and that was what was funny. That's what makes it funny. Is because
Hmm.
she's gorgeous, and so you're like, yeah, that person would never be a medical examiner. But if they were, what kind of sense of humor would they have? It'd be pretty friggin' dark, you
Yeah,
know?
it would have to be. Is
Yeah.
it true that she won her role in a poker game with
Yep.
Sonnenfeld? Have you guys
Yep.
read this? That's
Yep.
true.
I
Yeah,
did
she
not
she
know
was
that.
she knew him from other things. They were playing a poker game and she said, "Put me in your next movie if I win this hand." And he's like, "All right, bet." And so it was this movie and he said, "Well, you're going to play a super horny medical examiner." And she's like, "Cool.
I'm
I
in.
played super horny everything else. Might as well." So but she liked it because it was comedy. Like she was like, I
Yeah.
don't get to all the movies she'd done at that point, and even really since. She said it was always these dramas and stuff. She said so it was
Hmm.
fun to play something that was going to be outright funny against people who were funny. Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith and even
Mhm.
D'Onofrio, all that stuff. She said she said it was just so fanciful too.
Hmm.
But she's one of the many things that I've always had the problems with the sequels was like, how could you not bring her back? Is she because her and Will Smith have I talk about him and Tommy Lee Jones having chemistry, like not romantic, they have good like partner chemistry. They're funny
Mm.
together. Like they're
Yeah.
Hmm.
good. Like she'll be a good agent, for Men in Black. I don't know. I dug her. I liked her whole thing and
Yeah, you don't see any other, like, female agents around. It's all, anytime you see anybody from the MIB agency, it's a dude or an alien.
Hmm.
Yeah.
yeah, well, I
Yeah.
mean,
Mhm.
I mean,
Not
they
not
call
to
it
assume
out.
the gender of the aliens,
Fair,
Yeah.
fair point. They're either a dude or an alien. Like that's all that's in that whole space, right? The whole
Yeah.
time until she gets brought in, at the very end of it.
Mhm.
So,
And she
um,
could definitely be a little alien. She could definitely be a little alien coded too in her, um, just general behavior.
I mean, she buys it. Like when they tell her, before they flashy thing her, they tell her all of it. And she's like, yeah, I get it. Like, because she's probably seen a dozen of them through the
Hmm.
years and didn't have an explanation for it.
Yeah.
She's the one that figures out you touch the guy's ear and his face opens up, and there's the other little
Hmm.
alien talking about the
And nothing
galaxy.
bothers her. Like she's giving the
No.
notes that the guy doesn't have a rectum, like it's just a normal day.
Yeah, yeah, and I love Will Smith's like, oh,
This is
oh, oh,
weird.
yeah. He doesn't have one. Oh, there's a running gag in this movie that I caught on this time that I'd never caught on before. That Will Smith lays on Tommy Lee Jones earlier. They say, "Don't be calling me boy or kid, none of that mess." And he said, "All right, sport." And then everybody
Yeah.
the rest of the movie has a nickname for him. You know,
Tiger.
yeah.
Yeah.
Tiger.
This
Yeah. Go
Like,
one
get him,
has
Tiger.
Yeah.
a ton of
Well, I love too when he's introduced him. He's like, "I'm Doctor that, and this is Doctor White." And then
Yeah.
just go with it. And Will Smith looks at it, and I love that. Just again, that's that smart, snappy dialogue. Like when they
Hmm.
Mhm.
they wrote this out, and they went through a lot of drafts. They were writing it as they were shooting it, and sometimes that works when you get good actors to play it off. But no, I mean, she's fun. She's even fun when she gets bug napped. She's trying to talk her way
Yeah.
out of it. I'm very important where I am. Okay, Your Highness. And like the bug says, "I don't care." So it's trying to get up on the spaceships in Queens.
Yeah.
Which that was a good joke in and of itself. Why do you think we held the World's Fair in Queens? So, um,
She's kind of like a Tommy Lee Jones in a sense, especially when it comes to
mhm,
handling like certain crises. Like the first time is like when
mhm.
Vincent D'Onofrio is under the table and has his hand on her leg, and she's like, "You could come over and help me with this." And it took several times, and she goes, "I need you to come over here." And that's when
Yeah,
it clicked in.
yeah. It's
So
like,
I feel like Tommy Lee
oh.
Jones and her would probably have a lot in common when it comes to dealing with him.
Right, yeah, because well, he's new though. That's the thing is you got to remember, as good
Yeah.
as a cop as Edwards might have been, this is all new to him. He has no idea, and he's running this down on his own because Tommy Lee Jones is trying to figure out something else. After this is either before or after they shake down the pug, Frank the pug,
Yeah.
which
Oh,
is standing next to what I can only describe as like the model for the Judas Priest Iron Maiden monster,
until
in
the
human
second or
form.
third movie. I don't know.
Yeah,
He
he
reminds
does.
me of the guy from Rocky Horror Picture Show. Can't,
Yeah.
yeah,
Which one?
I can't remember his name.
Riff Raff?
Riff Raff. Yeah,
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
he does
That
look a little
that
bit
makes
like he does look a lot like Riff Raff, and he does look a lot like Eddie, the Iron Maiden skeleton monster.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he also
yeah.
looks like that old guy from whatever that death metal band was who went viral for just doing a crazy stare while the wind blows his stringy, long white
Oh,
hair back.
that's right. Yeah.
Looks
Yeah.
exactly like that guy, and for all I know, it is that guy. Who
I
knows?
mean, yeah. I mean, it's a great, you walk up on that and immediately, like everybody else, right? We think, well, that guy's the alien, right? And it's the
hmm
pug. I mean, that's a good piece of comedy again and a good joke. But I love like Tommy Lee Jones is clearly like shaking a stuffed animal in certain cuts of this, and he's just giving it all he's got. Like this guy went to Harvard, you can tell. Like, he's just gonna give it everything he's got, and it's hilarious. And nobody on the street is doing anything. Will Smith, like the dog owes my friend money, whatever. And
Well,
I,
he's trying to de-escalate it because that's the other thing is that Tommy Lee Jones has not really been dealing with like probably normal society since,
Mhm.
he took on this role, and Will Smith is providing that opposite thing of like, dude, I know that we can use the neuralizer, but let's not use it too often, please.
Yeah. So, I mean, I love again the whole pug thing because that's a good bit of exposition. Again, that was the thing
hmm
that like the voiceover that they used to fix stuff. They're
hmm
like,
Yeah.
okay, this is where we can write the movie right now. That and that one little screen bit that we saw with the alien ship, and that set the whole movie off. Like they knew exactly where to go from there, and it works. I mean, again, it works great and
Yeah.
leads to a hell of a climax. You called out the Elvis bit. I'll never not think that's funny when they get in the tunnel,
And they
and
go
he,
Mhm.
upside
yeah,
down.
he
That
hits the
is
red
so
button, and
cool.
Tommy Lee Jones's hair is just,
Don't use the red button.
Yeah.
And you finally got to use the red button. And of
right.
course, it's during New York traffic in a tunnel.
Of course,
Yeah.
yeah, but that's when you would do it, right? But I love
No,
that
it's
he pop.
awesome.
I mean, that's a deep track Elvis cut right there,
hmm
too. Like not most people don't go to Promised Land when you go for an Elvis song, uh,
Yeah.
but it's a good one. And I may or may not have had that on a few playlists in the day, because of this movie, but
I,
it's a fun scene though. It's really great,
mhm.
And they
Yeah.
play really well off of each other too,
Mhm.
especially when Will Smith is freaking out upside down in the car because he
Mhm.
refuses to put his seatbelt on, and Tommy Lee Jones just goes, "You really need to relax."
Yeah,
That is also
James.
And
such a New York
yeah,
thing. I
James,
thought
you're much too
a
young to be that
nice little
uptight.
touch. Yeah.
yeah,
I
Oh,
yeah,
thought that
okay.
was a nice little touch.
yeah.
Speaking of nice little touches, you know how we said that guy looked like Riff Raff from Rocky Horror?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Richard
Was it
O'Brien.
River? Is it Richard
Oh,
It's
O'Brien?
Richard O'Brien. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
okay.
Yeah, I had to do
Wait,
some Googling because I was like, he looks suspiciously like
Yeah. Oh my God, it
Yeah,
is Richard
actual Richard
O'Brien.
O'Brien, just an even older version. And
that's
yeah,
Love
funny.
it's
Riff
him.
Raff.
And it's
Well,
fun
that,
because he's also an alien in that movie. So,
yeah.
maybe he's
That's
still some kind of alien, but he's just not Frank the Pug.
it. Totally checks out though. So, I mean, it really
Oh
does.
my
man,
God.
should I
Yeah.
drop the mic? I don't know.
Yeah. But it all leads again to the big climax at Flushing Meadows, right? And we
hmm
we hadn't talked about the fact that I mean, Ryan, you talked about you had the noisy cricket. Lindsay, you said you would want the
Mhm.
noisy cricket of all of the, they finally give Will Smith a gun halfway through the movie, and Tommy Lee Jones has this cool space alien looking gun, and he hands him this little miniature, like, like he's gonna
This
snap it in half. But every time he shoots it, it kicks him through the wall. Is he?
this this is another example of size doesn't matter in this
Thank
movie.
you.
But he's always
Yes.
like, I'm going for the big thing. He's like, no, you're gonna have the teeny tiny thing, and it
Right.
makes the most impact.
Right.
It's like
Right.
shooting a Derringer, which kind of sucks. But if that Derringer was instead of like a 38, it was a 50 caliber.
I've actually shot a 44 caliber Derringer and it kicked like a friggin' mule in my hand. I could not shoot that gun.
You went
Like,
flying backwards.
well, I mean, it was one of those, like, I was, several yards from the target, like 10, 15 from I couldn't hit anything. This guy's like, yeah, that's not because you're supposed to, be away from anybody when you shoot that. You're supposed to put a hole in somebody with it. I'm like, yeah, including your
Mm.
own shoulder.
Yeah.
Because it'll blow
Ouch.
your wrist out of its socket. But yeah, I've shot one of those before. They're terrible to shoot. But I love that joke. I think you hit it right. Is that it's going back to that same theme of like,
Yeah.
don't get lost on size. We've already shown you what the galaxy is. We've seen it on Orion's belt.
Yeah,
Great
which
effect,
was
by the way.
that was such a twist to me. Like, and maybe it's
Mhm.
because of how young I was, but I never would have assumed because of course you have like he was a jeweler, so you automatically assume it's a diamond, and then Vincent
Mhm.
D'Onofrio's character Edgar is like it's not a diamond. He's like throwing diamonds out, and I'm certain for most people they're like, "Oh my God, those are beautiful diamonds. What are you doing?" And then it
Mhm.
turns out that Orion is the cat. And
Yep.
it his collar, which I thought was a fun twist, but I don't know, maybe that was just me.
No, it is a fun twist. I mean that's the I think and Jay's the one that figures that out, the Will Smith character, because after they have the shootout in the street and he's been chewed out for
Hmm.
shooting the noisy cricket off, he looks up and he sees a cat because Frank
Yeah,
the pug barks at one and he's like because he remembered the guy loved that cat. He had all those
that
pictures of
the
the cat. He's like
picture, the portrait, the
he's
pet,
like
the
Mhm.
cat
the
portrait in his
cat is
shop.
with the corner. That's when he goes back and him and then Fiorentino have their whole thing or whatever. And so that's how they get set into this. So he figures it out doing actual police work, which is funny to see in a movie like this. That they're like, oh, that actually did come in useful somewhere along the way. That he's good at it. But they get to Flushing Meadows and they open up the trunk and of course it's got all the badass guns in it. And I love the whole like Tommy Lee Jones just shoot the damn thing. The whole and
Stop being
that's what a movie
passive.
like this earns though, is that I don't have to explain shit anymore. You already know there are
Yeah.
aliens. This guy's on board with it. Just shoot the flying saucer, right? And I
Hmm.
love that it interrupts a Mets game, which pays off in a tabloid later, which is
I was
great.
gonna,
God, just like aliens are ruining my game. But yeah, I love that whole ending bit with that. And then I want to talk about how good that effect is at the end when the bug peels off the Edgar suit, and it's the combo animatronic and CGI. For
hmm
1997, that still looks really good. Like
hmm
you can see it that it's dated a little bit, but that's not half bad. That's a pretty good effect. They spent a lot of money on that too. Barry Sonnenfeld says we spent an extra $5 million on that, and he said, and I got yelled at about that. He said, but I told him I was like, y'all, we need it, or else this is not going to work. And he said it was money well spent. So,
they were smart with it because I mean when you look at that scene like it's slow motion, the fact that they took like so many aspects of it, it wasn't they had so many textures going on because you also had like the slime that was peeling off,
mhm.
and then you had the actual skin, and then so when the giant cockroach does pop out, it does look so smooth for the most part.
Mhm.
Like I think that's the one thing is that most people forget about when they look at like CGI and special effects from 1990s around that time is that if you take into consideration the several different like textures and senses and everything that your eyes and your ears are going to like experience, it doesn't matter if it's not as good as like what you would see today. It's so
Mhm.
smooth. Yeah.
I think also too is that you don't linger on it terribly
Hmm.
long. It's got a
It's
good bit of
fast.
scenery, but they don't spend a ton of time on it. At that point, once it gets going, it knocks things out of the way, and then, um,
He ripped Edgar off like a pair of peel away pants.
yep,
Just went,
Mhm.
just throw away.
I'm
Yeah, it's
done with
like
my
his warm
mom
ups.
jeans.
Like he was warming up for the Knicks. Yeah, that and then What do you make out of Tommy Lee Jones's whole method here or whatever? Because he the bug eats the guns, and Tommy Lee Jones he's got to know something, right? Like, okay, I won't die immediately, so I'm gonna go
Mhm.
get my gun.
Grr.
Like that was pretty wild. I mean, I kind of knew what was going to happen, obviously, because it's like, well, yeah, he's going to shoot him from the inside, but you don't know how it's going to get there. And there's a couple of scenes of somebody wriggling around a bunch of Jello, that's
Yeah.
supposed to be Tommy Lee Jones inside.
What's cool is that he says, I'm going to go get my gun. He gets eaten. And Will Smith's character is just like, I get him, J and K, whatever. Um, he just is like, okay, cool. This is the thing that's happening now. I have to do XYZ. Like, he just trusts that Tommy Lee Jones is going to be fine and get the gun. And then he hears the gun, like,
Fire
you know what
up.
I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Fire up, which I forgot about that
Yeah.
part.
Well, he's got to
Um,
do something to distract the bug from getting on the other
yeah,
ship. So he talks all that smack and he gets hit, but it's when he steps on a cockroach that it gets his
yeah,
attention and he starts
Hmm.
talking all that Will Smith's, trash to him,
yeah.
which he'll tell you that was him. That was his riff moment. He got to do that. That and damn was his, riff of the scenery. But he got to do all
Yeah.
of that. And but I love it though because it's great. He says because he's like, you better get out of my face before something bad happens. Then you hear the gun wind up. It's like too late, and it's a
Yeah,
cute look. It's
Yeah.
Will Smith
it
had
really
that at one time when he could do that little look when you just knew like, uh-oh, about to go bad. And
yeah.
yeah, it's a cool moment. It's like out of a
It's
video game.
yeah, and it's wild that he just trusted what was going to happen. He didn't freak out that
Hmm.
his partner got eaten or anything like that. He just trusted that it would happen after only being on this job for 2 days.
Yeah.
That's
He
the
was just
wild
like,
thing. I keep forgetting it's
But
only been like 2, 3 days since he's
but
joined.
it shows
mhm,
he was the perfect recruit though because he would accept
yeah,
it. He would go with it, and it worked. So I mean, it
mhm,
proved that Kay was right about him, because he's the one that kind of
yeah,
vouches for him to Rip Torn's like, look, man, this guy ran down a cephalopod on foot. Like, I don't care
yeah,
about the rest of it. You can't do that. People don't do that. So that's tough. He's like, we'll teach him the rest of it. And I don't know. And it's also him at that moment realizing like, I don't have to know everything. I'm just going to go with it. Like, this is going to work. And sure
mhm,
enough, it does. And of course, they all get covered in the slime goo
Hmm.
at the time, which
Ugh.
yeah.
yeah.
So you just wonder how many days they had to do that,
They have
you know?
special dry cleaners for
Oh,
their
yeah,
clothes,
gotta be.
definitely. They
Yeah.
get paid really well.
Gotta be a furnace or something.
Oh
Yeah. So,
It's
God.
they
they
make
call
a joke about like,
Nickelodeon
they were on a
shit.
36-hour day. You get used to it after the blinding headaches or,
Oh
psychotic
yeah.
episode,
Oh yeah, that's right. They do talk about that.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. Like, do y'all ever sleep? No. I mean, it's funny how that kind of thing just gets played off as a joke, but it's a great end though. And right as they're sitting there talking or whatever and kind of laughing about it, is the bug is still alive. That's the wild part. Is you
Yeah.
never kill, like you never killed a bug, like it's still crawling around after you.
Horror
Hmm.
movie logic. Double tap, please.
Right. Well, and
Always.
that's why Linda Fiorentino is there because she
Yep.
picks up the other gun and blows it to smithereens. And I love her whole like really interesting job you guys have. Like, of course you would say that. Like, but
Uh-huh.
it's a great beat. It's a great beat in a moment.
Hmm.
And then we get the big passing the torch scene, and I'm not gonna lie, y'all, this kind of jerked a few tears this time. I was like, oh, this is sad, like, oh, he's training a replacement. Like, yikes! So it's not what you expect. When I saw this the first time I saw it, it wasn't what I expected at all. It does come out of nowhere, but it also totally checks out and makes sense.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, you do get to see a little flashback of the things that Kay has left behind
Hmm.
Hmm.
and what he misses or what he's been clearly missing using Google Earth 2.0
Yeah.
Right, the most awesome zoom in on
spy on his, yeah,
that little
exactly.
real player.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I don't remember because now I've seen it so many times, I know what's coming. So I
Mhm.
don't remember if I found that very shocking or not, but It's a sweet moment.
Hmm.
Well, it is. I mean, it's a neat thing to watch him pass the torch like that.
And
Also, again,
knowing
passing the torch after only 2 days.
2 days. Yeah.
Since
It's a hell of
he
an
got
onboarding
rid of his
process.
previous
Yeah,
partner. That's the
yeah,
thing. He's like, he
Yeah.
went, well, look at if he's gone, I'm out.
yeah,
Goodbye.
yeah.
Hmm.
But it is sweet that he gets to go back to the life that
Well,
he had, and
he,
the interesting way they pull the tabloids back in, like the
yeah.
that they talk about a lot in the movie too.
Yeah, well, he repeats the same thing his partner said to him when they're
Hmm.
sitting on that hill in the dirt. Is like, we never just look up anymore,
Hmm.
right? But they're really quite beautiful,
Yeah.
and he says that because I think that's when it hit his head too. Like, yeah, you know what? I've done this enough. It's time to move on,
and
and
if
let somebody
you
else do it.
and knowing the ending that he's going to leave, they foreshadow it throughout the movie because because you think initially, oh, he's going to replace Agent D, the guy we see retire in the very first one. But no, Tommy Lee Jones is looking for somebody like himself who doesn't fit the mold. Because as we remember, his backstory is he was just a kid who was there
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
gave the aliens some flowers and somehow got drafted into the MIB without any real, uh, choice on his part. You're gonna come with us.
Right.
Hmm.
And if you see all the other little times, especially the training montage of he's like, I'm going to stick up for this kid. He's got a chip on his shoulder, like me.
Hmm.
It's clear that he's looking for not just someone complimentary, but someone who will provide the K essence
Yeah,
that
that's
the
what I was
agency's going
gonna
to
say.
need.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That way of looking at it from a different point of view that's not
Hmm.
so built into the agency, you know,
Hmm.
and which is why it's great that Jay picks Laurel as his partner because she's obviously not going to look at it the same way either, and they have
Hmm.
a cute thing at the end about Dennis Rodman being an alien, of course, because
She
he
gets
was
to continue her
omnipresent.
horniness on an alien level now.
I don't know. It looked like she kind of tamped it down at that point. I don't know.
We'll see.
She got that little
We don't
flip
know.
curl.
We
Well, no,
That
we
actually,
only
we
saw it for
won't. We
two
won't see.
seconds.
She doesn't come
I
back.
know, I know. I was so
But
sad about that. They're like, we got rid of her.
yeah,
I'm like,
like
seriously?
I don't know. I don't know what y'all think of the rest of the series or whatever. I remember going and seeing Men in Black 2 and being thoroughly disappointed in all of it. And then I thought Men in
Yeah.
Black 3 was okay. And then, like I say, I've never even watched International all the way through. So I don't know. I feel like this is. I get why they would want to make sequels of it. Even beyond the
Mhm.
economic reality of it, but it just didn't feel like it needed it. Like it's better off in your own head. You know.
yeah,
It just
yeah,
felt that at least with the sequel, and I did see the third one. I didn't see the fourth one. It just felt like it was kind of negating all of the beautiful moments that were from this film
Yeah.
when, he comes back and it just seems like Will Smith's character is a rookie cop again. It's like, oh, well, you didn't know about this and you didn't know about that. It's like, really? We're really gonna do
Yeah.
this?
Yeah, they have to remind him of everything. And they also give
Yeah.
Edwards like this way convoluted backstory with his dad being an
Mm-hmm.
astronaut and all this stuff. It's like there's just anytime you explain too much, like it's and that's the beauty of this movie is it doesn't explain too much. It
yeah,
just lets things happen and you just
yeah,
accept it for what it is. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I've seen all of the Men in Black movies all the way through. A couple of them a few times, and they're fine. They're fine. I'm not mad about them, like
mhm.
they don't anger me. I don't know. It's they're fine, but they're not Men in Black 1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not the original. So
No.
well, now's the part of the podcast where it's time to give our final thoughts and popcorn ratings. So, Ron, Lindsay, Ryan, what are yours for Men in Black? Ron?
it's interesting because this is one of those ones one of those movies that I wish had never gotten any sequels because I feel like none of the sequels really catch the magic of the first movie. But that said, it's been years since I've seen this. I've watched it a lot, like everyone else here. I watched a ton of it in, 1997, 98. But then, like, the second one came out and it kind of killed the first one for me a little bit. And then the third one kind of killed the rest of it. And I haven't seen the fourth one, and I don't have really any interest in seeing the fourth one. But coming back and looking at this one without the baggage of the the sequels is really a breath of fresh air, and it's a lot of fun. The movie's great. It's really fast. It does not waste any time. Everything feels like it's there for a purpose. The MacGuffin is built up nicely. Very fun cat actor as well on Orion. I always
Mm.
enjoy a good animal actor. Um, and Frank the Pug obviously is the standout animal actor in the movie because he shows up several other times, but I don't know if he counts because he's an alien. Um, but yeah, I had a great time with it this time. Tommy Lee Jones just is pitch perfect for this material. Linda Fiorentino brings an interesting energy. Will Smith is a great everyman, despite being, clearly a super cop of sorts. Speaking of Jackie Chan,
Mm.
but yeah, I'm gonna go with a large popcorn. Great, good time. Had a lot of fun discussing it with you guys, and had a lot of fun watching it again for the first time in years.
Lance?
Nice. I have been debating, and I could have just gone back and looked, and I honestly just thought about doing that while we were recording, but I don't remember what I gave Blues Brothers when we did that, and this is just Blues Brothers in space with not in space with aliens. Um kind of. There's a few
Yeah.
plot differences, but I I still love this movie, and without again the baggage of all of the sequels, which never really were baggage for me either, but I'll echo Ron's sentiment a little bit there. It's just such a fun movie, and for me, very nostalgic, which is a very powerful drug. So it just takes me back to a time that was fun, and the movie's easy and it's funny, and you've got peak Will Smith before he fell off the mountain. It just is such a nice kind of blast from the past to go back and rewatch it again. And I still kind of watch it regularly, at least once a year, I would say. So I would give this movie a large popcorn with all the fixins, the butter, the salt, like, but the good butter, all the way to the bottom butter. Like they put butter in the bottom before they put the popcorn on it, and then they went right down the middle with it. So yeah, I'd give it a very, very solid large popcorn. And now I'm just gonna have a little existential crisis with myself tonight to decide if I like Men in Black better than Blues Brothers. I don't know. More to come. How about you, Ryan?
Oh, I have to agree with Agent L and Agent R2. Um, this movie is so nostalgic. I I love this film so much. I was talking to you guys about this before we started recording. This cast you would not think would make a lot of sense, but they just made it work so beautifully. They took their time. Nothing was rushed, nothing was slow. It was a very well balanced film. And I also was not the biggest fan of the sequels. I don't hate them, but going back to this film made me realize how much I appreciated this, especially now that I'm older. I feel like there are things that I caught on to and connect with more as a result
Mhm.
of it. So I'm going to also give this a large popcorn, beautifully balanced and got a nice beverage on the side that just keeps me wanting to go back for more.
I I don't know if I could say it any better than y'all. I mean, I love this movie. I made that pretty clear if it wasn't obvious for the last hour or so of us talking about it. This is extra large popcorn for me because it's a 97-minute surgical strike of practical effects genius, high gloss nihilism, and it's a rare blockbuster that can pair some of like the most Rick Baker stomach churning creature work with a script that's so cynical yet so funny that it treats its ending like a paperwork error. And it just reminds us of like the insignificant specks in the marble bag that we all are. But at least it's a good time and we look good in a pair of Ray-Bans doing it. Like
Hmm.
that's this movie, and I love that about it. I mean, because again, and I always forget that little tagged ending that like, oh, don't forget, once again, you're just a small piece in a larger thing. But the fact that this movie works the way it does, and again, that it does everything so economically is amazing. And it still holds up so well. And I had a real blast revisiting it again. It's been a few years and has been a double blast talking about it with y'all as always, as we celebrate 16 friggin' years of film strip.
Woo!
Unreal. So I teased y'all with this. I want to ask each of you your favorite film strip episode, whether you were on it or not, doesn't matter. So Ryan, you're the newbie. I'm going with you first. So,
Oh, okay. So I thought about this for a little bit, and there's so many that I love, but if I'm being honest, I'm gonna have to go with Hook. Um, there's a couple of reasons. Number one, this was my introduction into being a part of this fun group of people. I love the film. And also Lindsay and I have been talking about it for like 2, 3 years before we did it. So I have to go with
there.
Hook. I that's the first one that came to mind.
That's perfect. Linz, how about you?
So great. Oh man, I've seriously racked my brain so much about this because there's so many fun episodes to choose from. So if you will indulge me, I'm going to, I think, go with two.
Okay.
The first one is Street Trash because I was honestly absolutely shocked by how fun that movie was, and I ended up really liking it, and I still think about it. It's just the most ridiculous thing. I
Oh,
honestly, it still blows my mind. Um, and one of them I don't even think was like I don't know if I would call it like a good episode, but one of my favorites was pandemic era Howard the Duck
mm.
when I was cosplaying because
Yes.
I was just like we were all shut in. I had nothing to do. So I would just dress up
Tease the
and
hair
trim
out.
my hair and
Oh my
wear
God.
wild makeup. I mean, we're not on video. Like there was
Well,
literally no reason to do it except for you guys, but you definitely helped save my sanity during the pandemic. So
yep.
always appreciative of that. And it's just really cool to have all of these like forever digital friends that we get to
Hmm.
see in person occasionally, but and then we've made so many friends for each other. It's what a fun community to be a part of and just so happy to still be on the show.
Oh, yeah. Ron?
Oh, Jay, you and I have recorded so much crap. It's
Yeah, I can't even
so
count it, man. I have no idea. So.
it's so hard to think back on like a specific favorite episode, but I loved anytime we got to talk about canon films.
Mm,
I loved especially Invasion USA. That recording was a lot of
yeah.
fun. That movie is a lot of
Mm.
fun too. Um, but then, we did Avenging Force. We did all of those American Ninja movies. Anytime that whole when we did the Ninja trilogy, that was a blast. The fact
Mm.
that I've gotten to talk about so much 80s trash with you and made a great friend in the process and made
Yeah.
great friends with you and Lindsay and Ryan and everybody, Nick, Brian, all Kurt, all the people that we've been able to that I've been lucky enough to record with, all of our friends from other podcasts who there are too numerous to mention that have become great friends of mine and all of ours. Um, it's just been so much fun, and it's just been one of the highlights of my adult life. I gotta say,
Mm.
once you hit your 30s and things start to be boring, it was nice to have a new adventure to be a part of, and we've got you to thank for that, Jay.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I cannot pick a single favorite thing out of these 451 episodes, but if there's one that ever sticks out to me as being like, I can't believe we actually pulled that off, It's all the way back in episode 127. It's after last season. Because Ron, you're the friend I mentioned on the show that said there's no way in hell you can write a plot summary for this. And I said,
That's right.
challenge accepted. So I talk about on the show, like, yeah, I have friends that like challenge me to do this, and I'm looking at one of them the whole time. And moreover, that I convinced you and Brian to actually watch it was one thing. But the fact that we got an hour and a half episode out of that and talk about all the stuff, and there's still an online community of people trying to figure that thing out, and you never will. It's a great mystery. But to have gotten to do that one was a blast, and to think that was 300 and something episodes ago, and all the places we've been since. Really blows my mind. I said it in the beginning that it astounds me and humbles me every time that somebody still downloads the show and still listens to it and repurposes it and puts stuff out there about it. And I appreciate that so much. But I've been doing this show for a long time, and I do it because of these folks and all the other folks we've had on the show through the years. Because when we built this podcast, it was to have outlet to talk about movies with friends. That's really all it is, and it's why we don't have the most polished show in the world and all that kind of stuff, because it's meant to be you're sitting around going, can you friggin' believe Will Smith did that? In a movie, or Dustin Hoffman, interesting choices, or whatever we're talking about, that particular day. Or so let's get into the psychological underpinnings of Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, because there are some, all of that kind of stuff. Like, those are things that I never thought I'd have anybody else to talk about except inside my own head. Because I watch stuff all the time anyway. Having people to talk about it is certainly a highlight, and has been for the last 16 years. And so, and the fun part is that the internet and the way things are built these days, these are just there now. I think this whole, again, you go back and listen to, I've been revisiting the Harry Potter movies recently, and it made me wonder, like, can I go back and listen to the Harry Potter shows I did with Anna way back when? And I haven't done so yet. But I remember when we did that thinking, we are out of our minds to take on a series like this. We're going to get destroyed if we get something wrong. And we didn't. And it wasn't because we weren't listening. There were a lot of people listening to the show back then. But it's just funny to think about how far we've come, since then. And again, I don't feel like I think the same or sound the same as then. So, but yeah, if I'm going to put one on the Mount Rushmore of Film Strip episodes, it's going to start with After Last Season, because I don't know, still don't know how it happened. So
We really, Jay, you and I have to get Lindsay and Ryan to watch After Last Season, and
yeah,
we
that's
got to
our
do
next.
we got to
Watch
do like
along.
a film strip sessions or something about it. So
Yeah.
Ooh, that'd
keep
be
your
fun.
calendar open.
It's on YouTube
Right.
for free now, so you can just watch it.
Oh,
It's
nice.
90 minutes. I dare you, Lindsay, to try to tie Brian down to watch that. It won't happen.
I
I
think
bet
you
I could
literally
do
have to
it.
tie him.
No,
down.
no.
Okay,
I got a
if
plan.
you actually get him to finish it, then he's coming on that session, because I gotta hear it.
100%. Yeah.
I could get him to start watching it. I cannot
Yeah.
guarantee I'll get him to finish it.
Oh
So
yeah,
do
usually
the duct
once
tape
he
challenge.
starts, yeah, no. Usually once he starts watching something with me, if he has started it and not just walked in on me watching it, then usually he'll finish it, even if he absolutely hates it, because I think he wants to absolutely destroy it if it's or anyone who likes it. I don't understand why they do this. This is so dumb. That's not how a movie should be made. Okay.
Completionist.
very
Yeah.
cool. I
Yes,
understand
if
that
I can
feeling.
get him to watch it, then 100% we'll have him
Yeah.
on.
When
This
I come
is
up to visit, like, hey, we're watching this film. Come on, Gretlis.
this is so dumb could be a tagline for this podcast. Because every other movie we've talked about, we've said something similar to that. So
Yeah, yeah.
I don't even care. I love it.
No, it's
I love
it's an
all of
absolute
them.
blast. So, well, as always, folks, it's been a blast sharing this with you and all of these many other episodes. You can go back in our archives wherever you find podcasts, Film Strip Podcast. You can search through and find any of the episodes we talked about today or any other fun things that we've got. And if you can find us and follow us there, go ahead and subscribe, share the show on your socials. It helps a lot. We're on all the major outlets. And of course, you can follow the show's social media at Film Strip Pod, where we post announcements and other fun content. And again, if you can leave us a positive review, it does help other people find the show, even after all these years. And we really appreciate it, and also helps us make feel really good about ourselves. So until next time, for Ron, Lindsay, and Ryan, I'm Jay. Thank you for listening to Filmstrip.
Thank you for listening to Filmstrip. You can find more episodes on our website, filmstrippodcast.com. The Filmstrip theme music is produced and performed by Frozen Lake 121. All content used or discussed in these podcast episodes is the property of the respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504, C2, Title 17.